All right, let's get a little sciencey, let's get a little geeky. You know I love that stuff. So why could your weight shoot up several pounds, especially during the summer? And that comes down to something called heat acclimatization. So if you are now experiencing warmer temperatures, humid days, you're outside, you're exercising, your body is trying to get used to these new conditions. I live in Florida, which is an extremely hot and humid state, and I notice it, one, on the scale when I am weighing, and two, I notice it with how my body responds. So instead of every time I'm drinking water and urinating, I may not urinate as much. I may get slightly swollen ankles. And what is occurring is outside of your control, right? So what do I always tell you? I tell you that you can influence your weight over time. You cannot manually control it, make it bend to your will. You don't have control. Your body has systems in place that basically kind of give us the middle finger and say, we're going to do our thing, you do yours. We'll meet you somewhere in the middle. And what this looks like, you might be just doing a normal day. Your eating is totally on check. Your calories are in check. Your exercise is on check. You're drinking a copious amount of water, but your weight shoots up. 3, 5, and ready for this? One time for me, 10 pounds. I woke up one morning, this was several summers ago. I weighed in, I think it was like 155 in the morning. I weighed myself at night because I felt extremely swollen. I had not gone to the bathroom the way I normally do. I had weighed in at 165. Had I not had years of notes, data, proof that this was some kind of weird moment, I probably would have had a crying fit right there on the scale, right? But what I realized, I did some research on this, is that when we live in hot climates, and this is relative, everyone's body processes heat differently. Everybody's body is going to retain a different amount of fluid. I've seen for myself as little as 3 pounds, as much as 10. So what happens with this heat acclimatization is your body adjusts how it processes sodium. And because your body is 60% water, your kidneys might take out some of the sodium because you're going to perspire more and it's going to adjust to cool you off, especially if you're exercising. I still exercise outside in my garage and everything else, so my body tends to need to adjust quite a bit. And when you have a heat index like we did yesterday of 105, 110, your body might become like a sponge, right? It's sucking up all this fluid, but it's not really releasing it the same way it would normally do. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is because during your summer months, you might one day see that your scale weight has shot up. I don't want you to freak out. I want you to ask yourself a couple things. One, is my eating in check? You know, am I eating normally? Am I tracking my food? Am I hitting my calorie goal? Am I staying consistent with my movement? Am I drinking the right amount of water based on what I normally do? Then really think about, has the weather changed for you? Has it become hotter, more humid? This may also be true of dry, hot climates as well. I have not lived in that for any lengthy period of time to have the data for myself personally, but I got to admit, I would imagine extremely dry, hot climate would also have the same effect. Now, hot is relative. I used to live in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and during the high heats of summer, it can get hot. So hot is relative to where you live. It's relative to what your body is used to. And so I want to throw that out there because as we are into the heat of summer and we are becoming more into the heat of summer, you might see these wild weight fluctuations and you might be prone to freak out like I would have been, right? But what you have to remember is your body's goal is to keep you healthy. It's to keep you hydrated. If 60% of your body's weight is water and it can fluctuate that much, you have to temper your expectations on the scale. This is why habits are so important, because you control your habits, you control your actions. You don't control climate, you don't control what your body does with sodium and kidneys and how it's processing things to make your body cooler during your workouts. You do control how you handle it. And I just think this is an important conversation to have because, again, had I stepped on the scale not having all the data I had, I probably literally would have cried and just fallen apart. Like, how can a human being gain 10 pounds in a day? Easy. If you're consuming liter after liter of water and you're not expelling it for whatever reason, or your body is retaining a lot of it, and you can sometimes even feel this in my back and through my stomach and hips, I can feel swollen. And this is usually a good sign. You might notice your rings don't want to come off your finger. You might just feel generally puffy. And what that probably is a sign that your body is adjusting with your sodium and water balance, and you are retaining a lot more water. So I just want to have this conversation because in our maintainers webinar last night, our maintainers group meets once a month in the Half Size Me community. I was sharing with them, I think a good rule of thumb when you get to a goal weight that you want to maintain is to maintain at that weight for exactly 1 year before you make a decision if you want to lose more. Because if you go through all the physical seasons, holidays and all the events, you'll start to accumulate some data on yourself. And what you might notice is during the winter months, maybe your weight's lower, or maybe during the summer months it's lower, and you kind of start to notice these patterns emerge. Part of that is based on events and extra food and traditions, but also part of that could be based on the climate, the temperature, your activity level. So it gives you a really good baseline so you're more familiar with your body and different conditions so you don't freak out. So anyway, gonna put a few links of reading material for you on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe. Click for notifications. I'm going to put some links for you to read about this from a more scientific perspective so you really understand this information. And please hear me when I say take this whatever the scale says with a grain of salt. It's just reflecting back to your gravitational pull on the planet Earth. On a day-to-day basis, your body weighs different amounts. You can vary 2 to 6 pounds every single day. All of these kinds of things where we're talking about water balance, hydration, all of that affects it. So what you control, habits and behaviors. What your body controls, everything else. It controls, you don't control your heart rate, right? It does that. You don't control how much you blink. It does that. You don't control how often you breathe, right? Try to hold your breath all day. It's not going to happen. There's a lot of things that are outside of your control. This water situation and the heat and how your body processes all this is one of them. So just be calm, be patient, do the actions and behaviors. Don't stress about the scale. All right, you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.